Now I would like to invite Mr. Michael Yuan, Senior Inspector of Police, to brief us on the methods of money laundering and terrorist financing and suspicious transaction reporting. Mr. Yuan, please.
Thank you everyone for joining these sections. I'm Michael Yan from the JFIU. In my today's presentations, I'm going to give you some ideas about money laundering and terrorist financing, and most importantly, the tips and how to file a good STR. In my first part, I'm going to give you a brief idea of the background of JFIU. And in the second part, I will give you some idea about the key legislations in Hong Kong that regulates the money laundering and terrorist financing. And then I will give you some idea about the process and the comments in money laundering and terrorist financing. And then the report of the STR report, how to file a good STR report. Last but not least is a recommendation of how to file an STR. Firstly, about JFIU. JFIU is a unit set up in 1989, which is co-staffed by the officer of the Hong Kong Police Force and the C&E department. Its aim is to remain one of the leading FIU in the Asia-Pacific region. JFIU is also a sole agent to manage the suspicious transactions report regime. It conducts financial intelligence exchange with different LEAs and FIU. And JFIU is also a member of a Edmond Group since 1996. And Edmond Group is actually a global organization facilitating the intelligence exchange and the cooperation between the FIU. To enhance the capacity of tackling money laundering and terrorist financing, the police force has established a new bureau, which is Financial Intelligence and Investigation Bureau, in June 2021. JFIU also maintains a very close liaison with the other different stakeholders in order to make the regime more robust. First, they will have regular meetings with the Policy Bureau, such as CEBD, Security Bureau, FSTB, etc. And also different regulatory authority, such as SFC, HAMA, and also some financial institutions and DNFBP, such as bank, SVF, accountant, etc. And also LEAs, such as police, C&E department, immigrations. And JFIU is also maintaining the STR system and also will conduct the STR analysis. Here are some key legislations that relate to the money laundering and terrorist financing. The first three of them are actually normally dealt with by the legal enforcement agents, which is the DTROP, Drug Trafficking Recovery of Proceeds Ordinance. The second one is the OSCO, Organized and Serious Crime Ordinance. And the third one is United Nations Ordinance. And the last two, as what have Ms. Leung and Ms. Yu has covered, which is about the anti-money laundering and the counter-terrorist financing ordinance, that I will not be covered too much here. For the key legislations regarding anti-money laundering, according to DTROP and OSCO, any person knowingly or having reasonable ground to believe any properties in whole or in part or indirectly represent proceeds of drug trafficking and also indictable offense, and the person still deal with such properties will face a maximum penalties of Hong Kong dollars 5 million and a 14 years imprisonment. Regarding counter-terrorist financing, any person who provide, collect, directly or indirectly, any properties with the intention that the property to be used or knowing that the property will be used in whole or in part to commit one or more terrorist acts, according to the UNATMO, the maximum penalty will be 14 years imprisonment. The legislation also covers the part of the obligation of reporting. Any person who knows or suspects any property represents or was used or is intended to be used in connection with the process of drug trafficking or indictable offense or terrorist property should disclose such knowledge or suspicion to an authorized officer. In Hong Kong, you may report that information to us, which is JFIU. And according to DTROP, OSCO, and UNATMO, the maximum penalty will be 50,000 Hong Kong dollars and a 3-month imprisonment if violating this rule. The key legislation also covers the tipping off activities, where a person knows or suspects a disclosure has been made. The person shall not disclose it to the other person any matter, which is likely to prejudice any investigations which might be conducted following that first mentioned disclosure. And the maximum penalty will be 500,000 Hong Kong dollars and a 3-month imprisonment. The next part, I will go to briefly how the process of money laundering and terrorist financing. The process of money laundering consists of 3 parts. The first part is placement, and the second stage is layering, and the last stage is integration. For the first stage, placement, there are actually plenty of ways for the criminals to place the dirty money into our financial system, such as smuggling of cash, by buying valuables, doing currency exchange, buying real estate. And most recently, one of the common ways is to purchasing the cryptocurrency and also the precious metals and stone, so that the source of fund will be very difficult to be traced by the investigation officers. And then the next stage is layering. The culprit will then convert the crime proceeds into the other form by making a very complex layering of financial transactions. For example, they will buy and then sell the stock. They will purchase an insurance policy and then surrender in a very short period of time. They may also conduct multiple transactions with different other parties, so that to make it very difficult for the investigator to trace the source of fund. And then stage 3, integrations. After laundering the money, the culprit will then integrate the launched fund from different sources and then use them to purchase a clean asset. The clean asset, after collected by the syndicate, will then be used to commit other crimes. In terrorist financing, there's actually a bit different from the money laundering activities, as the source of fund might not be from the criminals, but also legitimate activities. And most of the time, they will abuse the donations and also the non-profit organizations to gather the funding. And also, they love to use the physical transportation of cash, similar as money laundering, to make the investigator too hard to trace the source of fund. And sometimes they may also use the bank account and MSO to make their fund transactions. And then I will talk about the how to file and about the STR report. Trying to tackling the money laundering and the terrorist financing activities, JFIU have a very robust STR mechanism. And under this STR mechanism, there are 3 very important parties. The first one is reporting entities, such as bank, SVF, accountant, etc. The second one is FIU. If in Hong Kong, it's JFIU. The third one is a law enforcement agency, such as immigration, CNE, police force, ICAC, etc. For the reporting entities, such as financial institutions and DNFPS, they have to conduct the CDD and the KYC according to the legal requirement. They will also make sure the record keeping, for example, the transactions record and the customer information is properly kept in their business. They will also have the internal controls, such as in a bank, they will have a system for transaction monitoring. And in other reporting entities, they may have their internal controls before they establish a business relationship with a client. Whenever they spot some suspicions, for example, transactions or background of the information is incommensurate with their background, they will then file an SCR. The information will then be passed to Financial Intelligence Unit, JFIU. Under this STR regime, we will conduct the intelligence exchange with the other LEA, for example, the ICAC, CNE, etc. And we will also have lots of international cooperations, such as FedF and M1 Group. And we will also provide training and regular outreach to different stakeholders, and most importantly, the reporting entities. After we gather the intelligence, we will then pass to the law enforcement agency. As what I've mentioned, the ICAC, police. They may conduct the financial investigation based on the information that have been given to them. And they will conduct the asset tracing if necessary. If applicable, they will also apply the restraint and the confiscation order regarding the asset. So basically, the SCR mechanism, the first part is the information submitted by the reporting entity via the SCR. After the information has been passed to JFIU, we will then conduct an analysis on the intelligence. If necessary, we will pass it to the law enforcement agency to conduct further financial investigations. They may also be used as evidence for the investigations. But it's worth noting that normally the law enforcement agents will not be used the intelligence in open court directly. They will apply a search warrant and obtain the information from maybe the reporting entities or or from the bank before they produce those documents in the open court for prosecutions. The next part will then be the STL statistic. This bar chart is actually showing that the total number of STL filed in the past 10 years. We can see that in 2017, total number of STL filed in 2017 is the highest, which is the number of 92,000. The reason behind this is because during that period of time, a lot of bank or reporting entities, they have upgraded their transaction monitoring or internal monitoring system. So that in that year, a lot of STL has been filed. And then the number in the coming few years becomes steady. And as at the end of October 2023, now we have JFIU have received more than 77,000 SCL. So we expect that the number will be continue to grow. Then is a sectoral breakdown of the SCL received by JFIU. We can see that the bank and the SVF and also the MSO filed most of the SCL in 2023. And for TCSP, we have received 124 STL as at the end of October. And it's worth mentioning that some of the TCSP also provide the accounting service. So some of them maybe classify themselves as the accounting firm. So the total number of STL file, it comes to 133 until the end of October. Then I will going to introduce you a few ways of file an STL. There are actually 4 ways of file an STL. The first way is via email. You can go to the JFIU website to download an STL form. After you fill in the STL form, you may want to email it to the email address of the JFIU. The second method is by fax. After filling in the STL form, you may want to print it out and fax it to the fax number of the JFIU. Or you may want to do it by physical mail. After filing an STL, print it out, and then you mail it to the mailbox of the JFIU. The last method is installing a e-report system stream in your computer. But that method is mostly used by the bank or SVF as they file a lot of STL every year. And by doing this, you have to fill in an application form and you submit to JFIU. For the details, you may want to visit the JFIU website for more details. And also, in a very short coming future, we will have a revamp of STL form. And the revamped version of the STL form will be sent to the reporting entities for a trial in a very short period of time. Likely will be the first half of the next year. So by that time, please feel free to give us some comment regarding the new STL form, so that we hope that we can make it more user friendly for the reporting entities. Regarding STL reportings, it's actually a legal obligations applied to all, not only to the bank, to the SVF, but also to the accountant or the secretarial companies as well. And the disclosures can be based on just knowledge or suspicions. Some of them may be afraid that they do not have concrete evidence before they file an STL. But in fact, there is no reporting threshold for filing an STL. By filing an STL is also a legal protection against the civil and the criminal liabilities. And just be reminded that please do not disclose the reported details to the other persons, as you may file the legislations. And we, JFIU, we also keep the source of the report as confidential, so you don't have to worry. Then the next part, I will give you some reflex indicators. When seeing those indicators, you may want to further conduct a review against your client, so that whether to see whether you need to file an STL. In your client point of view, regarding the background of your client, you may want to see whether your client is a PEP, politically exposed person, such as the high-level government official, the head of state, the head of government, etc. Whether your client is a non-resident or corporate from a high-risk country, whether your customer has not known nexus with Hong Kong, or whether your client is a switch account holder or have an offshore bank account, and whether your client have a very complex corporate structures that they has no supporting document to ascertain the ultimate beneficial ownership. Regarding the transactions, you may want to see if the payment of your client is mainly from the third party, is by cash, cashier order, or demand draft. Whether the transactions is commensurate with the background of your client, or whether there are unusual high or low payment for a properties or goods payment. Here, I will give you an example. For example, if you see your client using, for example, $10 million to purchase 10 umbrellas, which is a very not making any economical sense, then it becomes a red flag indicator of you to consider whether you will file an STR. And whether the transactions was made with the unrelated parties or jurisdictions. Unrelated parties mean the company has no business connection with, or the jurisdictions that the company is not doing business in that country, but they still have some transactions with the entities in that area. So you may consider this as a red flag indicator. The next part will be the previous record and further inquiries. Based on your background check against your client and the open source information, you may want to file an SCR if the subject mentioned in the open source match with your client. Whether your client failed to disclose the relationship or the owner of the properties. If your client is unwilling to respond to the question that you ask and to provide supporting document for the transactions, it may also a red flag indicators. And then it comes to evaluations. Whether the information from your client is commensurate with the record keep in your hand. Whether the information from your client could be verified. The method of verifying those information could be from open source, could be from the existing information that with your company. And whether your clients is appear to be a stooge in the transactions, which can be discovered when you are conducting a KYC with your customer and he or she know nothing about the transactions or the company. Then you may come to the conclusion that your client is appear to be a stooge in that transactions. And then I will give you a tips on how to spot out the suspicious activities, which is by using a SAFE approach. SAFE, S-A-F-E, the first wording is screen. You may want to screen the background of your client and also the transaction detail of your client. Whether your client is a PEP, and whether from the transactions record it shows a U-turn transactions or temporary repositories of fund or a large amount of cash transactions involved in your customer transaction record. If you think that is suspicious, then you will come to the next part, ask. You will ask the appropriate questions to clarify the circumstances, why your client, for example, have conducted a large amount of transactions in cash or have the temporary repositories of fund. And then we will use find. According to the answer given by your customer, we will then check the relevant record for review. You may want to go to the open source information to check to clarify whether the information given by your customer is commensurate with his background and also is true. Based on those information, you can then have evaluations, whether the suspicion is substantiable. If you think that is suspicious, then you can consider of filing an SCR. In the next part, I will give you to have a look with the outlook of the STR form. In the first tape, the STR summaries, it shows the STR numbers, the submission number, etc. But for that first part, you need not to fill in this part, as this part will be automatically filled in by the JFIU. And just be reminded that there is an attachment in the first page. In the attachment, you may want to attach some transactions record, but I strongly recommend that when you're filing the transaction record, it better in Excel format so that it more user-friendly for us when we do the analysis on the transactions. You may also put some supporting documents such as a PDF about some document why you think your client is suspicious, or the detail of the intelligence that you want to tell us. You may treat that as a place for putting your supporting document. The next step is the reporting bodies. You will then fill in your organization's ID, the name of your company, and also the reason of disclosures. And then it comes to the next step, subject. In that page, you will fill in the details of the subject. Please be reminded that most of the STR filed, sometimes they will give us a wrong ID number, or even they forget to fill in the ID numbers. In fact, this is very important for us to identify the person, because a lot of person actually they got the same name, family name and given name. But with the ID numbers, we can assure that they are the same person, and we will now, when we conduct the financial investigation or we refer this intelligence to the appropriate department, it will be more convenience for us to do so. And then it comes to the next tab, organizations. Same as the tab of subject, please try your best to fill in all the information that you have with that company. For example, if your company is not a local company, which is a, for example, BVI company, or a company that incorporate overseas, you may want to fill in the registrations number of that company as well, so that it's more easy for us to identify this company. You may want to fill in the phone number that related to your STR, and also the address. And then it's come to the next tab, account. Only fill in this part if you think it's applicable to your STR, as this part is mostly used by the bank, where when they file an STR, they will fill in the details of their bank account. For example, the account numbers, the account type, and the related person, such as the account signatories, etc. And then it's come to the next part, transactions. For this part, if your report is about the suspicious transactions that made by your client, you may want to fill in this part, from which date to which date that you think your client has conducted some suspicious transactions. You can fill in more than one transactions in this part. Then is the suspected crime. According to FATF, there are some categories of offense, and you can take the appropriate box, which can be, you can take more than one box if it's appropriate for regarding the STR that you filed. Then is the suspicious indicators. In this part, according to different cases, if your STR is regarding the fund movement of your client, you may take the appropriate box, such as the large cash transactions, or whether temporary repositories of fund was observed from the account. And then it's about the open source informations. If your filing is based on the adverse news that you saw on the internet, you may want to fill in this part by giving us the link of your website, and also you may want to provide us with some more additional information regarding the information that you found online. And then the last part, you will have an overall view of the subject and the organizations that filed by you. If you want to add the subject, please feel free to add in this part. And please be reminded that normally we only require you to file the main bodies and the main subject. For any counterparties of the for the transactions that made by your client, you no need to fill in them one by one. Then I will give you some recommendations of how to file an STR. Here are the recommended structures of an STR narrative. The first part is triggering factors. The second part is the background of the subject. The third part is the transactions. And then is the reporting entities, inquiries, and open source informations. The last part is the conclusion and way forward. For triggering factors, in the first paragraph, you may want to mention why you filed this STR, whether your client is, you suspect that your client is involved in a crime, or fraud, corruption, sanctions, terrorist acts, etc. Or you file this STR is because you have received a search warrant applied by a legal enforcement agent. Or whether your filing is because of the open source informations that you found on the internet. Or whether by the internal transactions monitoring system, you observe some suspicious transactions pattern from your client. For example, a temporary repositories of funds, etc. And then the second part will be the background of the subjects, which includes if the STR file is regarding a person, you will give us a brief background of the age, the occupations, the income, and the transaction history of your client. If it's a corporate client, you may want to give us the dates of establishment, the business nature, and the expected transactions amount of your client. And then it's come to the third part, is the transactions. If a filing is regarding the suspicious transactions of your client, you may mention the review period that you have conducted. During that period, what kind of special pattern or fund movement that you observe that you think is suspicious. And also give us the total amount of deposit and the withdrawal. And also the pattern of the suspicious transactions. So all the information regarding the transactions, you may want to give us in a third paragraph of the narrative. The fourth part is the reporting entities and inquiries and the open source informations. In this part, you will give us some suspicious indicators that for example, during the KYC with your customer, or you're doing the well check against your customer, that you think your client is suspicious. But please remind that you don't have to give us all the information, but just the part that you think is suspicious. And also the link of the open source information if the reason of you filing this STR is based on the efforts news that you found online. And the last paragraph is the conclusion and way forward. You will first give us a conclusion of your report and also the follow-up action that you will be doing. For example, some of the reporting entities will tell us that even though they spot the suspicious of the client, but instead of end the business relationship with that client, they will enhance their CDD measures and continue to conduct business with that client, etc. You may want to mention your follow-up action in the last paragraph. So there are actually 4 types of feedback you will expect to be received after you submit an STR. The first one is the acknowledgement of receipt. The second one is a consent, no consent, or NA reply. For consent or no consent, which mainly will be given to those SCL filed, normally the reporting entities will hold some asset and they will ask for JFIU consents or no consents before they deal with such assets. But for most of the SCL, just for information to JFIU, will normally a NA will be given. Also, a quarterly SCL analysis will be distributed, and JFIU will also have a regular meeting with different stakeholders. So, a lot of comments regarding the SCL will be given to JFIU during that time. Before the end of my presentations, I will give you two case sharing. As most of the SCL filed by the accounting firm or the secretarial companies will be based on these two reasons. The first one is the adverse news. Normally, the company will be by searching online whether the client has been arrested by the legal enforcement authority, such as the ICAC. You may want to go to the ICAC website as they will have the publish about what person that they have arrested. And after matching the name with your client or the detail with your client, and then most of the STR will be filed based on this reason. The second case is transactions with a high-risk jurisdictions. As we know, there is a daily update list in the CEBD website about the UN sanctions. So you have the obligations to check against this list whether your client is on the list. If your client is on the sanction list, then you may want to file an SCL on these situations as well. So, in the future, if you have any problems or inquiries regarding file an SCL or the SCL that you have filed, you want to follow up the process of the reply or the reply from JFIU, you may want to contact the number of 2866 33 and 66 for more information. And that's all for my presentations. Thank you.